Well, let's get more on Blinken's visit now with Al-Madi, who's a professor of political sociology at the German Jordanian University. He joins us now from Amman. Really good to have you with us, Professor. Just sticking with Antony Blinken's latest visit to the region, we heard there from our correspondent Priyanka saying that really there hasn't been any tangible achievements from Blinken's latest visit, apart from words of assurances for Israel, but also tentative calls for more aid into Gaza. What do you think was the main purpose of this latest trip of his to the region then?
One of the most problematic issue, if US want to turn the war on Gaza just in the humanitarian level. The war on Gaza is not just a humanitarian level or a humanitarian assistance. It is a political problem. It is a social and economic problem as well as a military one. So I think this is what he will hear from the Arab state, and this is what he already heard from the Turkish leadership in Turkey when he visited Ankara yesterday. So what United States of America, what expected right now from Blinken, I think this time it will be different. It will be really something that absolutely has not been discussed too much in the last three visits. This time, I think enough is enough. This is for the American, for the European, for the Arab people here, and for the Muslim state. This is what he will hear, and this is what expecting from Blinken to put more pressure over Israeli government to stop this insane war against innocent people in Gaza.
And despite the rapidly growing death toll, the health ministry in Gaza says that more than 23,000 Palestinians have now been killed by Israeli attacks. Washington is still refusing to call for a ceasefire. Do you think there's been any movement in terms of another cessation in hostilities?
I think so. I think the Americans still hesitate to announce that. I'm sure that they talked with the Israeli, but the Israeli is still feeling that they do have the upper hand over Gaza and over the world. It's not just in Gaza and in Palestine. And Netanyahu, actually, he is so smart. He is trying to say that I know that you have trouble back in the state. You have election in the state. You can't put more pressure on the Israeli government because we will destroy the Democratic Party in the next election. And this is how the Israeli are dealing with the American administration right now. And this is why, actually, the American administration, they do not have more pressure over Netanyahu. But this time, I think it is for the interest for all of the parties in the region, whether the Palestinian or the Israeli, the Americans and the countries in the region, they want to see an end for this war.
And we know that a number of Gulf countries, including the United Arab Emirates and Bahrain, had signed the so-called Abraham Accords under the Trump administration back in 2020. This accord essentially sought to normalize relations between these nations and Israel. Do you think that in light of this latest conflict, that normalization process is now, at the very least, being questioned by these very countries who signed them?
I didn't think so. For United Arab Emirates and Bahrain, I think they are continuing their hope to see more normal relationship with Israel. But for Israel is the most important thing as the big fish for them, it is Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia can't do anything, normalize the relationship right now with Israel because of what's happening in the ground and the reputation of Saudi Arabia actually in the Arab world, in the Muslim world, will not allow Saudi Arabia to have any further steps towards normalizing the relationship with Israel. But with United Arab Emirates and Bahrain, they can't do anything, and they will continuing actually their normalizing with the Israeli government.
Okay, Professor Badr Al-Madi, we'll have to leave it there, but thank you very much for joining us on the program.